One of the first machines you're probably going to look at is going to be a leg extension leg curl for those that want quads and hams that hang down as low as a honey baked ham out of your shorts when you're sitting in a chair. Trust me, I know you all want it. Everybody wants teardrops, and there are many options. We've reviewed a lot of them. This one is a unique one in that it's using a unique style of resistance, the way that it's resisting, and I will say it's probably the new budget king, this style, for people that want a leg extension leg curl combo. I'm gonna tell you why. Let's do it. Leg extensions, leg curls, the RitFit PLC 01. And I will say, why would you look at this one? And I will say it's because overall, it is the best option. In my previous budget recommendation, the budget king was the Gronk version because it was nicer quality, somewhat budget friendly. This one is ultra budget friendly. I would say it's half the cost of the Gronk one, but it just has so many things going for it that others don't. Starting with what I think matters the most, and that is the tension. For most cheaper budget-ended leg extensions, you're using this sundial system. It's a rotary dial, has pop pins all over it, and allows you to put plates on. The strength curve is adjusted based upon where it is in direction to the floor due to gravity. Well, this version uses a cable system. Basically, it's got a lever arm that lifts up. The cable system that attaches to the leg roller then wraps around the pulley and then attaches to the lever arm. That is what's providing the resistance. And you're like, why does that matter? It's because it's a much more consistent resistance curve. Now, an ideal resistance curve, I think, for hypertrophy, based upon current research, is one that is heavier through the stretch portion. So basically heavier when your legs are fully in, say on a leg extension, or fully out, fully extended on a leg curl. That is ideal, but for most plate-loaded options, you need to probably find something that's consistent. And many of the options on the market just aren't consistent. They feel wonky. Like the plate-loaded versions, you guys recognize this, you've used them. There's some about them, they're just a little bit off. This one is very consistent, and because it's very consistent, that means both movements you do with it are superior compared to many of the other budget options that are on the market. Now, RitFit, particularly on this version versus say the Lion's Cool or other options, this one actually uses an aluminum pulley, so it's also very smooth. Now, there's other things about this that I like. According to recent research, you see guys like Mike Israetel talk about this. The superior way to do a leg extension is with an open hip angle. This basically allows you to stretch the rectus femoris further, which therefore allows you to have a greater stretch and is better for hypertrophy on the quadriceps. That's something you want. Well, this one has this built in. The back pad doesn't adjust forward and back, it just adjusts back on an angle. So it's fixed at the bottom point and adjusts backward. That allows you to essentially do a lay back leg extension, targeting the rectus femoris more and therefore getting greater gains. It's nice. It works. And it's actually superior to many, even commercial options that are on the market. The next one is you can actually get a pretty good stretch on the sundial. It can come far enough back. It's not perfect. I would want even more. Way that you can overcome that is you could drill another hole. So RitFit, if you're watching this, you should just add more holes. In fact, every company that's watching this, if you're making equipment, just add more optionality. It's not going to cost you that much more to do holes, and people are going to prefer it. They're going to buy your product more. So add more holes, add more optionality. You've got room on the dial. Give it to me, baby. But I will say just the built-in stretch is pretty good too. Now, for the price too, I mean, that's one of the biggest benefits on this is its affordability, but on the price, it's pretty stable. So you can load this thing up with a lot of weight. Now, I will say you're gonna have to load it up with a lot of weight. This thing is a freaking plate eater. It takes a lot of resistance. Part of that is because of the ratio. It works on a 3-to-2 ratio. So many of you are probably used to a 2-to-1 ratio. That means you have whatever weight is there. So say on a functional trainer, say it's a 100-pound stack, it's gonna come out as 50 pounds. A 3-to-2 ratio, if you have 75 pounds loaded on the plates, it actually is a feel weight of 50 pounds. So you're gonna have to do some weird math there. Honestly, if I was using it and put it in my logbook, I would just put in whatever weight I have on there. Just understand, you're gonna need a lot of plates around. Like it takes like 4 or 5 plates, something like that, to really get like a good feeling on leg extension. But the design itself is pretty stable for the price. They have a max rating of like 370 pounds or something like that. It's gonna be able to hold what you can hold. I will say when it gets heavier, there's a little bit more rocking to the boat. It feels good. If you get a lot of weight on there, it's not too bad. Now they did think through some extra things, like there's band pegs on this if you wanna do band resistance, which is nice. They're also quickly removable. There's metal pop pins. It works well, both for leg extensions and leg curls. Now, let me get into some things that I don't like about it, things that I think could be improved. Again, you have to take some of this with a grain of salt because the low cost covers a lot of issues. Typically how it is, you're gonna expect some issues with lower costs. But I do wanna speak to some things that I think RitFit could really change without adding a whole lot of expense, because I do think they've got a platform here that for many people on a budget, like this is a great platform and they should make it better. One is the leg roller length. It's a little bit short. It forces you to basically put your legs really close together. A little bit of annoyance because you're doing on both leg curls and leg extensions. Again, not a massive deal, but some to be aware of. The leg roller itself is pretty thin. You kind of expect this. The foam is just a really good leg roller, like with good padding on a cheaper budget end, is the Gronk. I think they did a good job. It's got a lot of padding there. Over time, doing a lot of weight on this, you're gonna really compress that foam that's in there. So cheap foam, it's just, it's annoying. So if you're gonna have cheap foam, which the price point forces it, just add more. Like I'd rather just have more, and it'd be better because then it'd give you a greater stretch too. So they should just add more foam to this. The other thing is they designed this so it would work for multiple body types, but without a lot of adjustment. So for instance, the leg roller pad that's on there, it doesn't have like a pop pin adjustment where it goes up and down. It's just on like this swivel. So you have to understand where you're using it, it's gonna swivel while you use it. It's not a big deal. It feels just fine. A lot of companies use this design, but understand it's not like ideal from many others that are out there that you can adjust up and down and just dial it in for you. Okay, a couple things on the leg roller. One, if you want extra stretch, it's really designed to go outwards so that it can adjust while you're using it. But if you want extra stretch, you can actually put it backwards. And if you use the bottom hole, it will take you all the way to the back, max stretch. It's great. The other thing, and this is just expected for this price point, there is a lot of deflection on this leg extension roller, and it's only gonna happen more over time. One reason is because it's such a thin rod. So your left leg, when you're using this, is gonna be further out than your right leg. Not a crazy big deal, but it is annoying. Maybe somebody could come up with a different version of this to make it better, but something to be aware of. I will say the vinyl that's on this is very cheap, but they're not using grippy vinyl on the leg roller like many cheaper companies do. I'm looking at you, Gronk Fitness, that absolutely rips your hair apart if you don't shave your legs. So it just doesn't feel good. So I'm glad they actually went with the cheaper vinyl. Then to the actual lying leg curl, it's inferior to the leg extension. It works fine. Lying leg curl is simply inferior to a seated leg curl. A lot of studies have shown that, like the ideal is a seated leg curl. I think it's because you're able to get more of a stretch. This one works just fine. One thing I'd say to improve it that you could do if you have this is throw some padding underneath basically your hips so your hips don't rise as much. Basically over time they rise, they can come off the pad. This is just about for every leg curl, but especially this one. Being able to just like dial in there and really push up against something, I think will give you a better contraction on your hamstrings. So something worth doing. And then just the overall fit and finish of this is it's what you expect for the price. So who do I recommend this for? If you're on a budget, this is the new king. For those on a budget, ultra budget, I would get this over the Gronk version. I would get this over many other versions because of the design, not because of the quality. The Gronk is a better quality, but for the price, the actual design and usage of this is much better. If you're fine using a lot of plates, this bad boy, you'd like it. So if you got a garage gym, you're looking for a leg extension, leg curl, this is my current recommendation.